The divine source. We simply do not know that how language originated. We don't have any artifacts to know that how language was spoken by our ancestors. But we all know that there have been some speculation about the origin of language, especially some divine sources of language. The biblical tradition says God created Adam, and whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. So it was Adam who named every creature, and thus the language originated. Similarly, we find a Hindu tradition. Language came from Saraswati, wife of Brahma, creator of the universe. So it was Saraswati's creation that language started. Most religions appears to have a divine source who provide humans with language. So we know that in every religion there is a concept that how language originated. A few experiments with rather conflicting result. In this regard, to know that which is actually the divine language, these experiments were made. So basic hypothesis in these experiment was, if human infants were allowed to grow up without hearing any language around them, then they would spontaneously begin using the original God-given language. So this was the basic hypothesis, that whether there was a God-given language. So we find an Egyptian pharaoh's experiment. Greek Herodotus tells us a story of the Greek pharaoh who made an experiment. He took two newly born babies and sent them to jungle with a mute shepherd and some goats. So they remained there. After 2 years, when the babies were brought back, the word they pronounced was Bakos. So this word meant bread in Phrygian languages. Phrygian language was not used in Egypt. It was used away from main Egyptian areas in the areas where there is now modern Turkey. But many commentators have disagreed about this. Though they say that actually this word because is, if we divided this word into ba and kos, we simply find that ba is from goats. So actually the only sound the children listen to was the sound of the goats. So they made this word. Similarly, we find that King James of Europe in 1500 also made an experiment. He also took two children and sent them in isolation. And when they were brought back to human society, they started speaking Hebrew, the language of the Bible. So he said that the language of the first language of human being is Hebrew. So very young children living without access to human language in their early years grow up with no language at all. All the latest experiment or different events have brought us to this conclusion that if children are not exposed to any society, to any people or to language, they cannot speak any language. So if human language did emanate from a divine source, we have no way of reconstructing that original language, especially given the events in a place called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth as described in the book of Genesis. So we don't have any source to get to this place and know where language was confounded. So this is one of the assumption about language, that people have, that language is a divine source. And as we have seen that people of the past tried to know that which was the language given by God to man. But the latest observation and experiment tell us that there is no language given by God to man. Rather, language is an inbuilt phenomena. We use language where we are brought up.